Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Economics Class 1. Now, I'm going to explain the principles of economics, Chapter 1. The name of the book is The Principles of Economics. The word economy comes from a Greek word which means one who manages a household. This makes sense since in the economy we are faced with many decisions, just like the household. The fundamental of economic problems are resources are scarce. Now, the definition of scarcity, the limited nature of society's resources, and the definition of economics, the study of how society manages its scarce resources. In Chapter 1, we're going to learn about the 10 principles of economics, how people make decisions. Principle number 1, people face trade-offs. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Making decisions requires trading off one goal for another. Example, include how a student spends her time, how a family decides to spend its income, how the US government spends tax dollars, how regulations may protect the environment at a cost to firm owners. A special example of a trade-off is the trade-off between efficiency and equality. Definition of efficiency, the property of society getting the most it can from its scarce resources. Definition of equity, the property of distributing economic prosperity fairly among the members of society. Principle number 2, the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Now, definition of opportunity cost, whatever must be given up to obtain some item. Principle number 3, rational people think of the margin. Definition of marginal changes, small incremental adjustments to a plan of action. Principle number 4, people respond to incentive. For example, when the price of a good rises, consumer will buy less of it because its cost has risen. How people interact. Principle number 5, trade can make everyone better off. Consider trade that takes place inside your home. Certainly, the family is involved in trade with other families on a daily basis. Most families do not build their own home, make their own clothes, or grow their own food. This occurs because it allows for specialization in areas that countries or families can do best. Principle number 6, markets are usually a good way to organize economic activities. Definition of market economy, an economy that allocates resources through the decentralized decisions of many firms and households as they interact in markets for goods and services. Principle number 7, governments can sometimes improve market outcomes. Government policy can be most useful when there is market failure. Definition of market failure, a situation in which a market left on its own fails to allocate resources efficiently. Definition of externality, the impact of one person's action on the well-being of a bystander. Definition of a market power, the ability of a single economic actor or small group of actors to have a substantial influence on market prices. Principle number 8, a country's standard of living depends on its ability to produce goods and services. Definition of productivity, the quantity of goods and services produced from each hour of a worker's time. Principle number 9, prices rise when the government prints too much money. Definition of inflation, an increase in the overall level of prices in the economy. When the government creates a large amount of money, the value of money falls. For example, Germany after World War I. Principle number 10, society faces a short-run trade-offs between inflation and unemployment. Definition of Phillips curve, a curve that shows the short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. This is a controversial topic among economists. This trade-off is only temporary, but it cannot last for several years. The Phillips curve is important for understanding the business cycle. Definition of business cycle, fluctuations in economic activities, such as employment and production. Policymakers can exploit this trade-off by using various policy instruments, but the extent and desirability of these inventions is of continuing debate. If you have any questions or any comments, write it down below, make it clean please. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum.